Welcome to Interviewing the Legends with special guest revered guitarist John Wesley.
Welcome to another edition of Interviewing the Legends. I'm your host, Ray Shasho. John Wesley has built a long and varied career as a songwriter, sideman, guitarist, and recording artist. His music has been called lyrically sensitive and musically dynamic. I call it just brilliant. His songwriter's style incorporates emotionally charged vocals that evoke the honesty and intimacy of Roger Waters and Patty Griffin, coupled with a melodic yet intricate guitar style reminiscent of David Gilmour, Lifeson, Beck, and Warren Haynes. Wesley's guitar-driven acoustic and electric songs represent the cultivation of many inspirations, alternative, progressive art, and classic rock genres, intertwined with poignant lyrics drawn from the poetry of the common man. What really appeals to Wesley's fans worldwide is a spark of sincerity and sensitivity, so oft absent in today's mainstream music. 2021, Wesley began touring as a guitarist and backing vocalist for alternative rock band from DC, Vertical Horizon. Please welcome revered American guitarist, singer, songwriter, the Journeyman Guitarist, John Wesley, to Interviewing the Legends. Hello, John.
Ray, thank you for having me.
Well, we got two things in common. We both live in Florida, not far from each other.
Yeah.
And Vertical Horizons from DC, where I came from.
Isn't that great? They were there in that era.
Yeah. I grew up with a lot of cool guys that, were kind of from DC, like Roy Buchanan and, guys like that, man.
Danny Gatton. Did you ever get to see Danny Gatton?
I did, many times.
Oh, my God.
He was incredible, huh?
Well, that telly that we just talked about has 3 of the Danny Gatton pickups in it.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
I talked to the guys from Hot Tuna. They were really good friends with Danny Gatton. Those guys, Yorma, they're from DC. Yeah. Those guys are from DC as well.
Oh, my God.
And, of course, Roy Buchanan was the Mr. Telecaster.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Again, when I got into the Telecaster, Danny and Roy were 2 of the guys that I kind of leaned towards to kind of figure out what the Telecaster was doing,
Yeah, exactly. Being from the Tampa area, I was friends with Joe Lala. Did you know Joe?
Yes. Remind me where I would have known him from, because I absolutely remember him.
Well, Joe was in a lot of bands. He was in, God, what is wrong with me today? Anyway, he was with Manassas. He was a session guy. He did a lot with Firefall.
Yes. Okay.
Ride Captain Ride.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yep.
And the other guy who was in this band is also from Tampa, Mike Pinero, who I've had on the show many, many times.
I've never met Mike. Is he still around here? Or?
Yeah, he's been ill.
Okay.
No, he's in California now, but he's been ill. He's been really ill, as a matter of fact. So,
yeah, he was growing up, especially Mike. Joe somewhat, but more Mike was like a superhero to all of us coming up in the 70s, and we were really young. He was really the first name that I kind of heard in the area that was really like, oh my God, Mike Pinero. The Iron Butterfly days, the whole 9 yards,
Yeah, we were very lucky, man. We had Stephen Stills came from Tampa. He went to high school, I think, there. Yep. The Outlaws,
Yeah, I mean, in the late 70s, and I was sneaking into clubs every now and again, I would run across a couple of those guys.
Mm-hmm.
And Henry Paul's wife, her in-laws used to live across the street from me, so I used to see him every now and again.
Is that right? Oh, very cool.
Young days. I'm talking just out of high school days.
Yeah. Yep. I had the guys on from Sound of Contact, by the way.
Oh, did you? Oh my God.
Yeah, we talked about you. Simon and Kelly were on the show.
Oh,
yeah.
Awesome.
They had a recent album out, and I was reviewing their album. Good album too, by the way.
Cool. I need to look that up. I didn't know that it came out.
Yeah, really good album.
Great.
I gotta tell you, man, your solo stuff is brilliant.
Oh,
Why
thank
you're not a
you. Oh my
superstar, I have no idea.
God.
I really mean that, man. We're talking
I appreciate that.
disconnect. I
Yeah.
listened to that yesterday. What I was blown away. That is such a great album.
It's yeah. It's hard, because you put so much work into it, and then the people that love it.
Right.
And I've never been able to explain it, but the outside world, I guess there isn't just that Hollywood factor where people will take a chance on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last album, A Way You'll Never Be, I mean, that was my, highest reviewed album. It sold the most copies, but it came along in a time period where people just stopped buying CDs. I'll never forget being out with Marillion in 2016, and I was supporting them, and I was doing this thing where I was solo, but I was playing tracks with electric guitar and singing. And people would come up to me and go, "Man, I love your record." And I'm like, "Cool. Do you want me to sign it?" And they're like, "Oh, no, it's on Spotify." I'm like,
Don't you hate that? You gotta hate that.
I was like, "Oh no,
The whole
oh
album,
no,
it's on YouTube.
oh no." Yeah, it's everywhere else.
That happens
So
to me
that was a
too,
hard shift. Yeah, right.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times I'll ask the PR guys, for the link to the album. And sometimes it's already out on YouTube. I don't know how they do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I was having this conversation with Steve Wilson yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's going to be putting out a new solo record and doing a tour next year.
Yep.
And he's like, the things that we need people to spend money on to make us keep doing this have shifted so much that now it's about breaking even and trying to hope for a breakthrough. And this is Steve Wilson, who is, I think people look to, for the source of new creativity. So,
Yeah, I got Neil Morse coming up next after you. I mean, not today,
Neil.
but in about 5 or 6 days. Yeah.
What a fun, sweet guy, man. I did a tour with him when he was out with Steve Morse, Flying Colors.
Flying Colors, yeah. He's been in so many bands. It's hard to keep up.
Right? And just really love that guy.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Him and Mike Portnoy and Steve, they're everywhere, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean, I did a tour playing with Portnoy in Big Elf. When we toured the European side of Big Elf, Portnoy was playing drums. What a blast that was.
It's got to be.
Oh, what an experience. Playing with him and Damon are just, my God, it was amazing.
What can we do to get you up here with your solo stuff, man? I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. You had, is it Dean Tidy, right? Who helped you out on that album? Does he still live in the Tampa area?
He does. Yeah. Yeah. He's still a dear friend. Dean's had some physical issues. He lost an eye.
Oh man.
And, in a way that is particularly almost constantly debilitating for him from a pain perspective. And so he's kind of slowed down in that realm. He does a lot of things out of his house, but he's not as much into that thing as he used to be.
Is he still teaching?
I don't think so.
No, huh?
I don't think so. No. He's kind of holed up and works out of his house,
Yeah. He's a very intelligent guy, man. I'm telling you, he's excellent. I'm gonna mention some tracks on Disconnect first, and I'm gonna talk about your recent album because I love them both. There's and they're different.
They are.
You're different. I mean, I don't know if you can call you prog rock because you got your own sound.
Well, thank you for that because that's something I've really worked for.
There's one song that your voice sounds like somebody, and I'm going to mention that, but otherwise it's all you. Of course, an awesome tune is Disconnect.
Yeah.
One of my favorites.
Yeah.
It's so different. The sound is so different. Any Old Saint, you've got this kind of a psychedelic guitar sound, which blows me away. You
Yep.
know,
Yep.
your kind of music's my kind of music. You know, it's
That's,
the kind of,
yeah.
just chill, listen to it, and
Yep. The
escape.
whole concept of I wanted to create something where you put on the record and you just let it play, like
Yeah,
we used to experience in the 70s.
exactly right.
You
And you
know,
nailed it.
that's the goal. Thank you.
Here's the song that sounded like somebody get you every time.
Yeah. Okay.
You
Yeah.
know who that reminded? Your voice sounded like Mark Bolan.
Oh, no way. Oh,
Yes,
well, that's amazing.
it reminded me a little bit of T-Rex. Yeah,
That's amazing.
I think
Yep.
that was my favorite track on the album.
That's a great track. Oh, thank you. That's awesome. It was fun to play live. I did some touring on the back of that record, and that was a fun one to play live.
Mm. Now you wrote all the lyrics on this album? Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what was your the spark that got you to?
There was so much going on in my life in that period. Personally, Porcupine Tree had not ended,
Mhm.
but it had stopped in
Right.
2010. Steven had made a shift, and there was a big disconnect from that world because I was used to that going out every year, every other year. And then when we were supposed to go out in 2012, he went out solo, and I ended up playing. I ended up doing the U.S. run on that as his guitar player because his other guitar player's visa didn't come through.
Hmm.
And there was a disconnection from that. And then earlier on, near the end of Porcupine Tree, I went through some personal stuff with my wife. She wanted to make a big life change and have a child, and I had already raised a child. We had raised my first daughter together, and I wasn't ready for that. And the thoughts that I was having, and like, what would it be if all of this ended? And because I didn't want to go back to that world.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the same time, there were people around me whose lives were changing forever, let's just say. And so I was able to take a lot of my own experiences and what I was enduring in those moments and create characters who perhaps had gone through with things that I did not go through. But what I did was I gamed them out. What would this look like? Who would I be? Where would I be? And so a lot of that record comes from, from gaming it out, creating the stories of what would have happened. Eventually my wife and I worked it out, and in 2012 we had a son,
Mm-hmm.
and I wouldn't change a thing. But at that moment, raising my first daughter, I did most of it in the early days on my own because my wife was she had some issues, and so I raised her. I had custody of her, and so it was difficult, and I didn't want to endure those difficulties again. So it was a big challenge at that time, So that's kind of that's kind of where that comes from. Like, what would have happened if, what's happening with these other individuals, and what's happening with my band, At that point, Porcupine Tree had been 10 years of my life,
Mm-hmm. How old's your daughter now?
36.
Wow.
Yeah, I've got 3 grandkids.
I've got 5.
Oh, there you go. You got me beat. And I have a 12-year-old son from, 2012.
My daughter's going to be 39.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
My son is 36, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're the thing.
Oh yeah. It's all about the grandkids now, man.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I'm going to see them Saturday.
They're fun, aren't they?
Yeah. And they live nearby, and that's great.
I spoil the hell out of them.
As well we should, right?
We have one rule in our house. There are no rules.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Same thing here. They come to Grandpa's house, and it's on.
It's a mess, right? After they leave, always.
Yeah, she's got a 3-year-old little girl that has me wrapped around her finger. So
yeah, I'm a sucker for little girls too.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about Mary Will. You got an official video for that, which is really cool. Talk about that song.
So that was inspired. I used to do a gig. I did a lot of gigs in between touring because that's, I was supporting my daughter, staying alive. Mm-hmm. And I used to do this gig in the downtown area of Tampa, a pedestrian area called Franklin Street.
Right.
And every Friday afternoon at noon, I would show up there and play for the lunch hour. It's about an 1.5-hour gig. Mm-hmm. And I would sit on a street corner and play. And I was paid by the city to do that. But a lot of people thought I was just a bum looking for I'm like, look at this guitar, man. It's not a bum guitar, you know? And I'd have a PA set up.
Right.
And in that area, a lot of homeless people would come. And through the years, because I did this for years, I would see the same ones. I started to know who they were. And at one point, I would see this one guy, and he would come up every now and again. And I would see him in other places, like at a fountain, talking to a statue, just, kind of carrying on a conversation with a statue. And at the same time, my wife had gotten a statue of Mary from her grandmother.
Right.
And it was in our front yard. And I would come back from these other gigs late at night, 3 a.m, and I would roll in by myself after a long night of interesting characters. And the first thing my lights would hit was that statue of Mary. And then I put myself into that man's position. I was like, what if I had done something that I couldn't come back from? What if I had harmed someone that loved me in a way that could never be forgiven? And I was convinced that I could never be forgiven. And I had seen this statue of Mary and realized that the only person that could ever find grace into a better life was through the intercession of Mary. I grew up a Catholic kid.
Me too.
And so, Mary being the intercessionist, the interceder to Jesus, I thought, well, what if the only person that would ever stand up for me? What if the only person that would ever intercede for me was that statue of Mary? And that whole song is built around that.
You ever talk religion with Neil?
I did. Yeah, we had long conversations about it.
I actually talked religion with Mark on my last interview. Yeah, some good things.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. Cool.
Mark Varner, yeah.
Yeah, he's very religious. I thought you meant Neil Peart.
No.
Actually, when you said Neil, my mind went to Neil Peart because I would ride with him and we would have these deep, crazy conversations. And less Neil Morse because we were on a tour bus together. So always, and that was actually what we used to have this thing called Wine Club. And, we would all sit and drink wine. And it was the goal of Wine Club was to go out in the daytime and find a bottle of the most cheapest, best wine you could find and because we were in Europe, and some crazy cheese and bring it to Wine Club. And let's do wine and cheese. So he was kind of a part of that. So yeah, religion was the other Neil.
Yeah. Well, I got to show you something. While I do my interviews, I've got a saint, and I got this guy.
Oh yeah! Oh my God, the Archangel Michael. Yeah.
Oh yeah. You want to be protected, you need him.
Yeah, it's funny because Neil's bodyguard and best friend was Michael. The Archangel.
Is that right? Really?
Oh, yeah. Wow. Michael Mossback, dear friend to this day.
That's what's cool about the Catholics. We got all these saints to protect us.
We do, right? I'm sure they're out there,
Yeah. And they all stand for something,
They do, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's where Mary Will came from. It was like, what if you had just fallen so far that only Mary could redeem you?
That is so cool, though, that you have Mary on your front lawn and the headlights hit that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I would just
really
sit there
neat.
sometimes and just look and go, wow. And and she was behind some bushes, and that's where the line behind the bushes comes from,
You know the story about George Harrison when he got attacked in his home? The intruder, he had Michael actually in his yard. And
oh my God.
He took Michael's sword and stabbed George Harrison with it.
You're kidding me.
It's bizarre.
I have never heard that. Oh my God. I'm gonna have to look that up.
And
now.
Him and his wife fought off this guy, and George got stabbed, It was bizarre. Really bizarre.
That is bizarre.
Yeah. It was crazy.
We live in Florida. They're out there.
Yeah, I know. At least we're not in bad shape here, like the West and California and Portland and Minnesota.
Yeah, no, that's gone.
It's gone.
New level.
It is a new level.
Next level, man.
Exactly. They got to, we got a lot of older folk here, so they got to protect them. If anything.
Home of the newlywed and the newly dead here.
Yeah, exactly. The next track, How Goes the War? Another interesting track as well.
Yeah. That one, in that time period, which is weird because Disconnect was written in 2010, 2011, and released in 2012, I think, 2013. There was this phenomena that I think Stephen had even started to touch on it in the Fear of the Blank Planet stuff that I was seeing more and more. And it was a phenomena of people that were building their whole lives around their couch and their rooms, and starting that whole thing of not coming out of your house and just living. And so I ran across someone, and just as a joke, they weren't doing much. And I said, "Hey man, how goes the war?" Because they have their own personal inner wars. And then I built that character, and there it is, so it's that character that can't get up, what do they call it back then? They don't say it much anymore, but can't execute, can't get out of their house. I forget, there was an actual term for it. Can't leave your parents' house. Can't, what was the term?
And this was before COVID, right?
Oh, this was 2011, 2012.
Yeah. Before we had to stay in our house.
Yeah. No, this was built around people that couldn't grow up, couldn't leave their parents' house. 35 years old, living in their parents' basement still.
Right.
And that was before it became a thing. Now it's a thing,
Now it is a thing, yeah.
But I was meeting people back then that couldn't lift off, man. They couldn't get up, So
the next album, A Way You'll Never Be.
Yes.
I'm so sorry to hear about, Sean Malone. Well,
that was brutal.
Oh man.
That was brutal.
Great bass player.
Yeah. Let me take a second to turn this AC off because it's loud.
Okay.
1 second. Yeah. So Sean and Mark and I went all the way back to my first album. And, Sean worked at Morris Sound, and he was going to college at USF at the same time. And Mark Prater, who I've been playing with since 1980, he's on drums. Go on, girl, go on. He worked at Morris Sound when we came off the road and started working there in probably 91. So we knew Sean, and Sean was a monster bass player. And so I recruited him to play some stuff on my very first record. And on and off through the years, Sean would come in and out of our lives. And anytime he was around, he enjoyed playing all my stuff. Obviously he did way more advanced things. And his 2 solo albums, we actually mixed. Mark's actually mixed his 2 solo albums. And so in that time period, he was available, and I was like, "You want to play on A Way You'll Never Be?" And anyway,
Yeah, very sad.
Yeah.
Same thing happened to my best friend.
Oh, sorry to hear that, man.
It just blew me away. We grew up together.
It crushed Mark and I, and in a way that at the same time I found out Neil was sick, even though that was hush hush, it was. And then some changes happened. So there was a time period after 2016, really, after A Way You'll Never Be crashed, and Sean was going through his things, and I just kind of stopped creating.
Yeah. So. Everybody I was close to that I shared music with, I had a lot of great friends that were music aficionados, and we basically, shared musical ideas with each other,
Yeah.
Like I was into prog, somebody else was into this, somebody else was into that. Yeah. Everybody that I shared music with, they're all gone.
It's crazy.
At an early age. Not even, that the oldest guy who I was close with just passed away at 69. The other guys were in their 50s,
it's crazy. Yeah. I just lost, in the last 3 years, this guitar and this guitar both came from people I lost, and it's just
unbelievable.
It's crazy. Just, I'm going to do, on the YouTube channel, on the Journeyman Guitarist channel, I'm going to do the stories of those 2 guitars.
Oh, good.
As well as others.
Good idea.
Yeah,
Yeah, a
because
little tribute.
yeah, and they came from people that were a part of my lives and people I really cared about.
Yeah, unbelievable. I'm the only one carrying the torch now
Right?
for music,
Yeah.
keeping it going.
But A Way You'll Never Be, Sean played monstrous on that, and
Hmm.
Mark as well. And again, I wrote, that was all my lyrics, and based on some of the ideas and concepts of Ernest Hemingway. A Way You'll Never Be is actually the title of one of his short stories.
Hmm.
It's actually they say it's the first piece of literature that actually references PTSD in the story.
Really? Is that right? Did not know that.
And the character is lost in the front lines, and he is meant to show the Italians that the Americans are coming, but he keeps having blackouts, and the Italians think he's crazy. But then the Italian officer comes in and says, he's a hero. You don't know anything about him. You can't make fun of him because he is something. He never uses the phrase "a way you'll never be," but the thing is he is a hero that you can't even ever dream to be, and that's why he's like this. And there are so many people in our society, so many people, even at the smallest level, that are heroes. That old adage, you don't know what someone else is going through. You know nothing about the internal struggles of any other human being. And so don't judge. And so I started taking those concepts, and then a lot of the concepts, because I'm a massive Ernest Hemingway fan. I've read almost everything he's ever written. And I used to play in Key West all the time, and I would spend time circling his house, and all the places that he used to haunt. And so that album, all the way through it, is informed by what was happening in my life, society, fed through the lens of an Ernest Hemingway vibe.
Very cool. Yeah. Another tragic ending, right?
Oh, yeah.
And his daughter too.
And so here's an interesting thing. I just turned 62, and I went through a cancer thing a couple of years ago. And Ernest died at 61, and my goal at that time was to get past 61. So I had a mantra as I was going through the cancer thing, and it was any day past Hemingway is a gift. And so that's the way I live my life now. Any day past Hemingway, because that was my goal at that. He made it to 61. Now I'm 62. So any day, every day is a gift. So
it is. It really, I'm 65, man. I still can't believe I'm 65.
How did we get here?
I don't know, man.
We're still doing it. I'm still writing, recording, I'm touring, still doing this madness. I'm working on a record right now.
I have not changed, since high school, Nothing's changed at all.
No, I'm with you, Ray.
Yeah, man. Well, this album, again, I mean, if I could give 5 stars to both of these albums, yes, 5 stars each. They're incredible.
That means everything, especially from someone as knowledgeable about music as you are. That means so much.
I know when something's good. By the Lady of the Sun, which is a great title,
Title track, yeah.
Love that song. And then of course you just talked about A Way You'll Never Be, which was, you got some good rockers and great guitar work on these tracks as well.
Thank you.
Excellent guitar work. I love your guitar playing. I love that psychedelic feel because it's incredible.
That's me.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
It's one of the reasons, I was able to float so well in Porcupine Tree all those years, and then with bands like Sound of Contact and Big Elf, it was it was that stylistic thing that helped me work well in those gigs.
To Outrun the Light.
Yes.
Kind of a spacey rocker. A little bit of prog in that one.
Yeah.
Great guitar solo.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
The Revolutionist.
Right? Oh my God. Little did I know how relevant those lyrics would become.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Coffee shop comrades.
Man, oh, man.
Whoa. Surrounded by them. Oh.
I'm writing my 4th book. And it's fiction, and it's about the government taking over and basically getting rid of freedom of the press and all kinds of. And I have a woman president. Everything's coming true.
Oh my God! So you basically wrote this book with 2024 in mind.
It's ridiculous.
You're prescient.
The year is 2030s. It's But it's
God.
crazy. It's everything's coming true in this book. I'm almost finished with it too.
Oh, God.
I
Get it
did.
out, get it out.
I did add some extraterrestrials.
Good. Because
Okay,
they're bound to show up any day now.
I had to.
Yeah.
You know, for the sci-fi guys, I did it for them.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Nada. Is it nada
Yeah.
or nada?
It's nada.
Okay.
The Spanish,
Spanish
word for
is
no.
nada.
Yeah, nada. And so there is a prayer in Ernest Hemingway's A Clean, Well-Lighted Place.
Mm-hmm.
Old man who is bitter and alone.
Right.
He says the Our Father, but everywhere Father comes in, he uses the word nada. So it's known as the nada prayer.
Oh, cool. Very
And I had
cool.
lost my parents previous to all of this, and there was bitterness still.
Mm-hmm.
And so nada is kind of me being in that old man's place, looking back on some of my own losses and reinventing that nada prayer to express the bitterness of losing my parents. So
It's hard to lose your parents, and I did too.
yeah,
I took care of them for 20 years.
that's unbelievable.
You know?
I mean, they were always near me, and I was always close to them.
Yeah.
And, you know, so
My
it's
mom
hard.
had Alzheimer's. You know, it was rough.
You know, that was Sean Malone's mother as well, and he took care of her
Yeah.
at the very end. And then when she went, that started his spiral, you know.
Really.
Yeah.
Well, I was lucky though; they were in their 90s before they passed. You know.
Yeah. That is really lucky.
Yeah.
But but no less heartbreaking.
No, part of you dies when your parents die, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I wanted to express in that song. Now, there's an element of hope in the whole album, especially in the last track.
Mm-hmm.
In the lyrics of the last track, there's, you know, it's there is life out there.
Right.
Leave the lost years in a box of old letters. You know, turn around and go home. And what is home? You know, home is your life.
Yeah.
Home. Shed the light of pointless endeavors. Shed all those things that are holding you back, all those things that crippled you, all those things that hurt you, and move on and
Move
go.
on, right?
And believe it or not, that was a big lesson I learned from Neil Peart in talks that I'd had with Neil. Again, he was sick in the time of writing that record. He was sick later, but I had been having conversations with him on those subjects since about 2007.
Right.
And then when he got sick, it was like I was touring that record, and it was like, oh God, you know, I've written so much in this record from things I've learned from him. You know, it was just one of those things.
The Silence and Coffee. Nice performance by Sean Malone on that one, right?
Beautiful. Yeah. It's just beautiful.
That was a favorite song among your fans too on that album. A lot of your fans like that song.
Yeah,
that was things to say about it. Yeah,
yeah, and I'm very, very proud of the way that came together, and lyrically as well. I think that album was you know how it is. You work to develop and hone your skills. And I think in that album, a lot of the skills started to really come together, and I think that really connected there.
Great album. My favorite tune, my favorite track is Unsafe Space. That song blew me away.
Oh, thank you.
Oh,
it was the first time I've ever done an instrumental.
That was the great opening. Fantastic guitar playing. I mean, that was,
Thank you. Oh my God, you just made my day.
You need to do more of that.
So check this out. I put that on YouTube. Right. And they flagged it and removed it.
Why?
Because of the title.
Unsafe place?
Unsafe space. Because of the safe spaces. And that was my the safe spaces were starting to happen in the time period I wrote that.
I can't believe they did that.
And Yeah, they pulled it, and I can't get that song back on YouTube.
That's ridiculous. What is wrong with those guys? They let
I was like,
so
look,
much.
man, there's not even lyrics in this song. You can't flag me. There's no words in it. It's an instrumental. And they were like, nope.
You know
And
how much
threatening to shut down my channel.
you know how much clickbait they allow on YouTube
Oh, I know.
that pisses
I
me
know.
off.
Oh, yeah.
You
Oh, it's
know?
insane.
Unbelievable.
It's insane.
Son of Rose, another great title. Another, you know what? Here's a comment for you. I could hear Soundgarden playing that track.
Oh, wow. That's
Chris
amazing.
Cornell and
because
Soundgarden playing Son of Rose. That would,
Chris Cornell was a huge, huge influence.
Yeah, me too. I thought he was a cool dude. I was heartbroken when it happened.
Yeah.
Mm,
Wow.
that's it. Epic, kind of a little spacey track.
Yep.
Loved it.
Yep.
And of course, Pointless Endeavors. That's another cool title.
Yeah, and that lyric and that instrumental performance at the end, to me, was the end cap to everything I had done up to that point.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really happy the way that came out. And so now I'm trying to go to whatever the next plane is.
Yeah. When is the new one coming out?
Well, I have to finish it.
So you're working on it. That's good.
I'm working. Yeah, I'm working on it. I actually recently made a change in my life this week, where I'm back to being a full-time musician.
Okay.
And I'm trying to share that journey on the Journeyman Guitarist YouTube channel. So I don't want to call myself a content creator, because that's not the vision. I'm working on a record, working on a career, and sharing that journey on YouTube. Where some people, the music thing is the thing. They're content creators and they share music. For me, this is just an aspect to, you can't tour like you used to. You can't go play live for people like you used to. So for me, the avenue to get out to all those people in Europe and all those people around the world that I can't get to anymore is hopefully through that YouTube channel.
Good. Now, you're a touring musician with Vertical Horizon?
Yes.
Okay, you're not on the albums or anything, right?
No. Okay. And actually, I met Matt through Neil Peart.
Because Vertical Horizon and your style are completely different.
They are, yeah. But it's still a rock band.
They're good. No, they're a very
band.
polished band.
Yeah. And Matt and I connected through Neil in about 2008.
Really?
Yeah. Neil was talking to me one day. He said, you should meet my friend Matt. He has a band. I was like, okay, what band does he have? It's called Vertical Horizon. Have you heard of them? And I was like, yeah, I got 2 of their albums. I heard of them. And then he went to Matt and he said, you should meet my friend Wes. And we connected. And then 3 years ago, he needed a guy and called me, and I was like, and it was the same week that Porcupine Tree had decided to go a different direction,
right?
With their sidemen. So I was like, fuck, I'm in,
I had Paul Reed Smith on the show.
Oh, did you? Oh,
I did. He's
awesome.
He's from Annapolis. That's where, I was actually a top 40 DJ in Annapolis.
I didn't know that. Oh my God.
Wow. We kind of connected,
Yeah.
But I mean, you endorse his products, right?
Oh yeah.
Basically. Yeah.
Since 2002, I've actually been playing his products since 1989.
Is that right?
Wow. Yeah. Hold on.
Okay.
Yeah, I was in a band that was trying to get a record deal, and we were on the cover circuit trying to get a record deal, playing our own stuff and playing tunes, and it was all pointy head guitars.
Nice, very nice.
And my friend at Thoroughbred Music said, you got to try this thing that just came out. This company, Paul Reed Smith. And I'm like, I could never afford Paul Reed Smith. And he's like, well, this is the CE line. And at the time, Alex Lifeson had started playing CEs, and he brought this out. And I traded everything I had for it. And I've had it since 1989.
So what makes a PRS guitar so great? What is it about the guitar?
Um, I mean, and I hate to state the obvious, but the care and detail that goes into the instruments, they intonate unbelievably. And he's always been chasing that classic sound that we all heard in the 60s and 70s in our head.
Right.
And wanting to be able to recreate, because we can't all go out and buy a burst, right? We can't all go out and buy a 57 Strat.
Right.
He's like, what are the elements that made those guitars great? And how can I improve them? And how can I make a great instrument? And, in 1989, I discovered this. And, we were playing hard, man. We were playing 4 sets a night, 6, 7 nights a week. When I say 7 nights a week, we would do 7-night-a-week gigs 3 weeks in a row. So we do like 21 days in a row.
Wow.
And I was beating guitars up, like I had a lot of the pointy head guitars with Kahlers on them. And the Kahlers, after 2 months, would just go, they'd strip out. It would just be a nightmare. And I got this guitar, man, and it took it. The neck wouldn't move. The electronics, this guitar has been dropped. It's been all kinds of stuff. And it's just unbelievable.
Did you play this guitar on one of these albums?
Oh yeah, all of them.
Yeah, good.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
It always gets service on one of the albums. It's even on some of the Porcupine Tree albums.
Nice.
I used to tour it in Porcupine Tree. It was one of the guitars that would go out with me.
Right.
So
yeah, Porcupine Tree was a great band. Excellent band.
It was, and that's how we made that's how I got endorsed by Paul, and connected, being part of the company. And I've toured. I mean, Porcupine Tree was a thing that had to be such precision. And I was playing a Les Paul on a Telly at the time, and then I connected with them for the piezo thing, because Steve really wanted me to use the piezo.
Right.
And when Krozak at PRS, the artist rep, didn't even think twice, man. He listened to that album, and the next day he shipped me 2 guitars.
Nice.
And I used those for years. And in 2006, he offered to build me one, and he built me. Oh, it's in a case. I just got back from a Vertical gig, and it's still in its travel case. But he built me a guitar in 2006, and that guitar has been with me ever since 2006. So yeah, so Paul Reed Smith and those guitars, and now the pedals, I'm using the pedals, which are phenomenal. I haven't had a chance to work with the amps yet, but only at their headquarters, because I've just got so many amps.
Yeah.
But,
he's got an album out, right? Did you know that? Paul Reed Smith?
I didn't know that. I didn't know.
Yeah, it's called 8 Lock. He's got a good band too, and he's doing a few gigs. Got a few gigs in Annapolis. That's why he got on my show, so he wanted to promote his album.
He has a great one.
Yeah. I want to talk to you about some other things.
Oh yes, please. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. You want to finish your sentence?
No. Just Paul.
Okay.
I just love Paul dearly. So
yeah.
There you go.
Neil Armstrong's son.
Yes.
With Edison's children, right?
Yep.
How cool is that?
It was a blast.
Oh,
I met him.
man.
We was touring with Marillion years ago.
And you played at Kennedy Space Center, right?
Yeah, on the 50th anniversary of the.
Wow, that is so cool.
Of the Apollo 11 with Alan Parsons.
Oh, with Alan. Yep.
Yeah, Alan was the headliner.
Yep. I had Alan on the show too.
He's amazing.
Yeah, he is amazing. Did you meet Neil, or did he pass away?
I met Neil in 2004. I was opening for Marillion, and Rick brought Neil out in the afternoon, and we all got to meet him and take pictures with him.
Oh my God.
It was very special. Yeah. It was like, oh my God, you're Neil Armstrong. And Rick and I have maintained a very close friendship since. Yeah. Yeah. So that's obviously we called.
Probably as close as we're going to get to an extraterrestrial meeting.
There you go. There you go. Close enough, right?
Yeah. I
That's
took
awesome.
the tour at Kennedy Space Center back in, I think it was 69 or 70.
Oh,
But
wow.
they were building the Saturn V in the big building. So
Yep.
I got
Yep.
to see them build the Saturn V. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Uh,
He describes what it was like watching that take off. And we went to a shuttle launch with him, but, it's crazy.
yeah, it is crazy. But the other thing you did, you played at Camp Lejeune, right? The Marine
Just
base.
recently. Just recently.
Yeah, my dad was a Marine and he went to Camp Lejeune.
Oh, no way.
Yeah,
Yeah. We played July 4th there. And boy, I tell you what, the Marines know how to put on a party.
yeah, they
That
do.
was the most intense firework display I have ever seen.
Really.
It went on and on and on.
Mm.
I asked one of the guys about it, and they're like, "Oh, we don't mess around." Like, Semper Fi, brother.
Yeah, exactly. I was a bartender once in Crystal City, Virginia, at a hotel,
Okay.
and they had the big Marine Corps ball with the commander. He was there, and they let out, and they all came to my bar, all dressed up, with their uniforms, and the women were all decked out and everything. Just me and about 50 Marines.
Oh my
Me
God.
serving them, and they wouldn't let me close the bar because I had to close the
Oh,
bar
yeah.
at a certain time. They wouldn't let me.
No.
And then their wives volunteered to help me clean up afterwards. They were so cool.
That's
Made the
amazing.
most money that night.
I bet you did. Again, these are people that do not mess around.
No, they don't. They were awesome. I agree. But then you've got a story about Kosovo. I
Oh
heard your
yeah.
story about Light Man throwing out the
Oh
TV
my
out the
God.
window.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
That's
So
crazy.
I was playing with Fish, the old singer from Marillion, on
Yeah.
his career, and we had written a record together. And we went to play for the Royal Marines in Kosovo shortly after NATO had gone in there and calmed things down. So things
Right.
weren't really calmed down yet. We still had tanks in the Presevo Valley. Kosovo's a majority Muslim, and even though they'd gotten the Serbians out, the different Muslim factions were fighting each other then.
Yeah.
So it took the cork off, and so, and I didn't understand that. I'm like, why is there still fighting? The Serbians across the other side of the Presevo Valley. And he's like, oh, look, mate, they're trying to kill each other. I'm like, what? And I didn't understand the tribalism that exists within that religion, and Sunni and Shia, and just the different cultural things. And they were killing each other at that point.
Man.
And so NATO was just trying to hold. And I said to the guy, I said, when are you going to be able to establish a government here? And he goes, oh, I don't think we ever will, mate. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he goes, well, they hate each other and all trying to kill each other. I said, well, who's the government here? Who do you negotiate with? And he's like, the Russian mob.
The Russian mob.
I was like, what? He goes, yeah, those old men that meet in the breakfast nook of your hotel every morning. There's a group of old men there. And he said, that's the mob, mate. And that's who we deal with. And so we'd been there a few days, done a bunch of shows, went to this place called the Gurkha Bar, where all the expats and the mercenaries and everyone were, till 6 o'clock in the morning. And the light man and one of the dancing girls had gotten hammered. And at about 6:30 in the morning, they went back to the hotel, went up to the 9th floor, and we had this little crappy TV in each room, little black and white thing. And they were raging because there was no channels except these terrible German channels. And so he was like, it's fucking rock and roll, isn't it? And he chucked it out the window. Well, it goes down and it lands on the roof of the breakfast nook and comes into it didn't go all the way through. And they're all looking up at this TV, and they are who they are. So they sent their people around until they found this guy. We called the Brits because they have him and they have the dancing girl. And the Brits come down, stop it. And they start negotiating, and they charged him $1,000 for that TV.
For a little black and white.
A little black and white. So he kept the remote and actually took the remote home and framed it.
For a souvenir. That's funny.
Yeah. So that was a moment.
Yeah. Remember all these stories so you can write your memoir.
Right? I could write a
You
memoir
know?
just about touring with Fish. You
Oh,
know,
yeah,
just
is that right?
those stories. Because it was
Oh,
an
man.
adventure.
Oh, crap. I want to mention Alex Lifeson. Were you friends with him?
Dearly. Yeah, he's a really close friend. Yeah. Yeah,
They've got a
we've had a
good
night.
album, a great album out called from his band called Envy of None.
Yeah, I love it.
And he's not doing any freaking PR. I've been trying to get him on my show. It's
Yeah.
a fantastic album. Why isn't he doing any PR for that album? You know?
Because it's an interesting conversation because when he found out I was touring with Vertical, him and I were talking one day and he said, do you still like it? I was like, yeah. I said, I love it. But then I said to him, but I didn't do it at your level, man. You know, you went on tour for years at a time.
Right.
And now you're enjoying that after period. So we're in a different place. For me, I haven't hit that wall that,
Right.
that you did it way more than I did.
Mhm.
And then he kind of understood it, so he wants to do what he wants to do.
Right.
And, and so he's been developing all these pedals and amp and I'm connected with Mototone through Vertical Horizon that handles all of the production for Alex's stuff. And so I've done a bunch. Anytime something comes out, I do a demo video for it, and I'm using some of the gear. Great.
But it's a shame, because when you hear a great album, you want
Yeah.
everybody to know about it, and
Everyone should know about it.
he hasn't said anything about it. It's just
No,
sitting
he
there.
did a little press right when it came out, and then he moved on.
And it's so different than Rush, also.
Yeah, and I think he's still doing more stuff. He's just
Yeah.
taking his time. He'll the last time I saw him, we drank 5 bottles of wine between the two of us. And there's a picture, and it's so.
Yeah, I saw Rush in it was 74 or 75,
Wow.
and they backed up Kiss,
Oh yeah.
and it was at a small place, maybe
Yeah.
800 people. That was on the
Yeah.
front row.
Wow.
Tickets were like $6.
Yeah, I saw the what's the album after Fellow Kings? That album. The album after Farewell to Kings. I saw that tour.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I saw Fly By Night. That's a long time ago.
Yeah.
They ran its course, so Rush was done. I mean, Geddy Lee couldn't sing anymore.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know, because I saw him at the very end, and man, he sounded great.
Yeah, I've heard a few shows where he was a little rusty.
A little off, yeah.
But I always thought if Yes ever got back together again, he would have been perfect as a bass player.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
Because at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, when Yes played, he was great with them.
Crushed it. Yeah.
He would have been perfect with Yes.
He plays so physically. I don't know how his hands aren't ruined.
They might be. Who knows? Yeah. All right. I got to ask you about this because this is real cool. And a lot of people don't know this about you. Okay. You're a competitive shooter.
I am.
How cool is that? And you've done this for what, 30 some years?
Yeah. I figured it out. I started doing it early in 92, maybe late 91. Mm-hmm. August of 91. August of 91 is when I started. And again, it was my band had crashed and burned. I was trying to build a solo career. I was starting to have to take care of my daughter on my own. I didn't realize it was going to end up the way it did, and I would just have full custody of her. But I was getting more and more of that, and and trying to get a girlfriend at that point. You're a loser musician playing local clubs. You've got a daughter. You have an ex-wife who's, let's say, unpleasant to be around. Yeah, I want to sign up for that, And I picked up a part-time job at a gun shop that was walking distance from my house. And I met some guys there. They were like, hey, man, you should come out and shoot with us. It's fun. And I went out and started shooting, and it became an obsession.
What do you shoot? You handheld or?
Oh, yeah. It's running and gunning. It's action pistol. I've done some pre-gun with rifle, pistol, and shotgun, but I mostly focus on pistol because it's shooting and moving, man. It's really a skill. It's a highly developed skill. I've spent a lot of hours practicing at home, a lot of rounds on the range. I've shot over a couple 100,000. It's not something I ever talked about much because a lot of people in the music world, they don't understand firearms and that world. But then and also too, I had an incident when I was working at the gun shop on a gig, coming home from a gig where I had an encounter with a gentleman and an ice pick, and that changed my view forever. Like once you've had that encounter, your view is and you've seen another side of the human condition,
right?
And you're like, okay, all these, because I was a born and bred, the world's peace and love and this and that, and then there's this guy pulling out this ice pick.
An ice pick, yeah, right.
And I'm like, okay, this is not peace and love, and that changed my view forever. And so between that and getting into the competition world, I shot a match last Sunday.
Did you really? Do you do any trick shooting too, or no?
No, it's all competition.
No cowboy stuff.
All competition. No, I never got into any of that. Although, I mean, in the competition world, you're drawing, you're trying to draw under a second, a second 2.5 at the most on a difficult target. So it's quick draw, and then it's execution. Then it's running and thinking and moving, and it's tough. It's a tough sport, but I love it.
Yeah, I got my concealed weapons, but now you don't need it anymore. What do you think about that?
Yeah.
What do you think
I got mine in 91.
What do you think about legalizing it? Like anybody can have a gun now. That's kind of
I gotta be honest.
It takes away from having the permit.
Yeah, I gotta be honest. I'm not a fan of that.
I'm not either.
I think you should have to demonstrate a little bit of, and there's a lot in the gun world. They're like freedom. I'm down with that, but I'm like, stop it. I'm also down with responsibility.
Exactly. You need to have some kind of training before you handle a gun.
Yeah. I mean, before I ever got my carry permit, I could shoot.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And I got mine in 91. So that long ago. And there are some moments I still carry, so.
Yeah. I haven't done it yet. I haven't carried out of my house yet. I got a little 40 caliber.
Yeah. And I mean, I tell everyone it's a really personal decision. Now I carry because I know how, and the other thing you learn in this world is you learn how to avoid places where you'd actually need it.
Right.
Like the only time I ever needed it was that ice pick situation, and that was unavoidable. It was 2:00 in the morning. The van had broken down. I was on a payphone on the phone to AAA, and luckily for me, I had a 45 in my belt, and a gentleman with an ice pick decided to show up, and
that's crazy.
He left. Let's just say he turned around and walked away once he understood what the situation was.
Yeah.
So
the issue now with it being everybody having a gun, road rage.
Yeah.
You can't have road rage today because somebody's going to lose.
No. No, I mean, in an armed society, be polite.
Yeah. Yeah, we're like Texas now, basically.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I am constantly conscious of that now. To me, anyone I encounter out in the world, especially in a state with concealed, could be carrying, and I treat them as such. So I treat them with, no matter how extreme they get, I am incredibly polite.
Exactly.
Because I understand the ramifications.
When I got my permit, my instructor scared the crap out of us. You better be sure if you fire that, you're responsible. You're going to jail. And all that's.
You're going to jail. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Very
You're
scary.
definitely going right.
You better have a
you're
good
definitely
reason to shoot somebody.
yeah, because your life will be forever altered.
Yeah.
And I've
Basically,
always
he's
been
got to
able to talk
be.
my way.
Basically, he's got to be on top of you, strangling your neck or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. You've really got to be,
Yeah.
in it. And I hope to never be. How about that?
Yeah. Me too. Me too. You did a show with for the troops too in Kuwait, didn't you? The servicemen.
We did. We did Kuwait. We did Qatar. We did
Wow.
UAE, and we did Bahrain. We
Thank
did
you. Thank
seven
you for
different
that, by the
bases.
way.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's
That's
something that
wonderful.
that I share with Matt is a real
Mhm.
reverence for our servicemen, and so we try and do that anytime we can.
Good for you. I commend you
Yeah,
for that. Yep.
yeah.
John, here's
Big
your
love for our servicemen.
final question. I ask
You got me.
everybody this question. I get some very interesting answers. If you had a Field of Dreams wish, like the movie, to perform
Yep.
or collaborate with anyone from the past or present, who would that be?
Well, obviously Neil Peart. You
Mhm.
know, I never got to be in a situation where he played drums, and
Yeah.
But Neil and I had sort of that dream come true because on Disconnect, on the song Once a Warrior, it's Alex that plays the solo.
Oh, really?
And yeah, and that solo, I mean, some of his like fan groups have rated that solo in one of his top 10. And it is a
Wow.
brilliant solo.
Yeah.
And so I got that side of it. I got the guitar side of it, but it would be Neil Peart. That would be my dream.
Good answer. Very good answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I hope Alex does more. I hope he's not in the retirement mode.
I hope so. I hope so. I hope to see him in the next, few months.
Yeah.
I almost got to see him over the summer, and Delta Airlines stranded me in New York, and I missed dinner with him and Getty.
Okay. That would have been nice.
I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy.
Well, I want to mention you can buy John Wesley's Away You'll Never Be and Disconnect. And they're both available on Amazon.com, or I guess they can go to your website.
Yep.
Also, Vertical Horizon has, got to mention them, of course, The Lost Mile.
Absolutely. Yeah, and come out to the Vertical gigs because we're playing all over the country, and that is ongoing. And if I tell people too, if you reach out through me, through my Instagram or through my YouTube, let me know you're coming to a gig, and I'll try and connect with you.
Okay, very good. Are you coming to Florida?
Hopefully next year. We were in Florida in April. We played Busch Gardens in April.
Where, in Tampa?
Yeah, we played Busch Gardens, Tampa in April, and last year we played Disney World. So we're kind of on that rotation. So
good. Yeah, I've covered a few shows in Busch Gardens.
Well, if we get anywhere near here, I'll be sure to reach out. I'd love to get you out.
Awesome. I'll be there. I'll cover the show for you.
Awesome.
You're on, you got your official website, www.john/wesley.com.
Wesley.com. Yep.
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
Yeah.
Vertical Horizon's official website, www.
Yep. And at the Journeyman Guitarist is the YouTube.
The Journeyman Guitarist, exactly.
At the Journeyman Guitarist. Yep. That's the
important one. Yep.
That's the one.
Exactly. And I'm looking at your tour schedule real quick. Let me see. Yep. September, you just did that one. I guess the next one's October 5th. All right.
Yep.
In El Dorado.
Arkansas? Where is it?
El Dorado?
Yeah, in Arkansas.
Yep. In Arkansas. And then you got the 18th in Illinois, Des Plaines, Kalamazoo, Pontiac, Pittsburgh. Yeah, you got a pretty long tour. Frederick, Maryland.
Yeah, all the way
Ocean
to
City.
New York.
Yeah,
we're playing all over.
Man, you're going to be busy.
Which is good. I love to play.
All the way through November 14th.
Yeah.
That one's Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
Yep. And then in December, we're going to do some shows, hopefully for the troops somewhere.
Good. How about you? You going to do any solo tours coming up?
I'm working on that now. Like I said, I made the big shift back to being a focused musician. And that actually happened this week, because was running a day job for about the last 7 or 8 years, as well as being a musician.
Mm-hmm.
And that took me off my game, and now I've shifted back.
Good.
And I'm a focused musician. So yeah, I'm going to do some stuff.
Well, you're a great guitar player, a great songwriter.
Thank you so much.
Your music's incredible, man. I want
Ray,
to.
that means everything, brother.
I like to see more from you.
Well, hopefully next year you will see an album.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to that. John, thank you, man, for being on the show today. I really appreciate it. It's been
Ray, thank you for
great
being
talking to
patient
you.
with me, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
I think
everybody.
we're going to miss the storm. It's still sunny here.
Yeah, right? Still sunny here.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Ray. Next time.
All right, man. Bye.
Thanks again for watching Interviewing the Legends with Ray Shasho.